Hey, before we dive in, smash that subscribe button if you want to hear more stories like this. Trust me, you don't want to miss what I'm about to tell you. My name is Jacob Marshall, and I've never believed in aliens, not seriously. Sure, I watched all those sci-fi movies, laughed at UFO documentaries, and joked with friends about alien conspiracies, but I never thought anything like that could happen to me. That was until last Tuesday night, around 11:47 p.m., when I went out for my usual walk near the edge of town. The sky was unusually clear, stars sharp enough to see the Milky Way, and the air had that cold, dry edge that made you feel awake in every sense. I took my flashlight and my old camera, thinking I might catch a comet or maybe just a cool photo of the horizon. I wasn't expecting a chase, a fear, or the impossible. It started subtly, just a faint glow in the distance, hovering above the treeline. I froze at first, assuming it was a plane, maybe a drone. But planes don't move like this. It wasn't descending, it wasn't climbing, it was just gliding and silent. My first instinct was to record it, so I fumbled with my camera, zooming in as the light grew closer, brighter. Then, without warning, it vanished. Just like that, gone. My rational mind told me it was a trick of the eye, maybe a reflection, but something in my gut told me otherwise. I should have turned back, gone home, locked the door, and tried to convince myself it was nothing. But I didn't. I kept walking, following the trail along the ridge, and that's when I felt it, the first prickling sense of being watched. I stopped. My heart thumped like it was trying to escape my chest. And then I saw it. Not the light this time, but something darker, moving in the shadows between the trees, quick, deliberate. Not a deer, not a coyote. Something that shouldn't have been there. Panic hit, and I sprinted toward the road, thinking the streetlights might protect me. The trees thinned, the lights ahead grew, but the feeling of being tracked didn't leave. And then I saw it again, the glow larger this time, almost impossibly bright, reflecting off the asphalt, casting long, unnatural shadows. I tripped, cursed, and scrambled to my feet, but the light stayed with me, following, not like a searchlight, but like it knew exactly where I was. I started running without thinking, my legs burning, lungs screaming, adrenaline making every step feel like I could fly. The road twisted, the night stretched longer than it should have, and I realized I couldn't outrun it. Whatever it was, it didn't tire. I ducked into an alley, hoping the city lights would confuse it, but the glow hovered just above, scanning, precise, inevitable. That's when I understood. I wasn't just being watched. I was being hunted. My mind raced. Should I hide, call someone, run into the forest? Nothing seemed right. Nothing seemed safe. And then, suddenly, the glow blinked out entirely. Silence. A weightless silence that pressed on my chest, leaving me shaking. I was alone, or so I thought. Then, the sound came. A low hum, like a magnet moving through metal, vibrating through the ground and my bones. My stomach dropped. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The city noises were gone. The wind had stopped. Just that hum, growing louder, surrounding me, suffocating me. I pressed myself against the wall, trying to calm down, thinking maybe I was imagining it, losing my mind. But the camera in my hand shook violently, and the hum peaked. Then everything changed. In a blink, the world tilted. The streets stretched into a long tunnel of light, and I felt myself lifted, weightless, my feet leaving the asphalt, my stomach churning like I was falling upward. Then darkness, complete, crushing darkness. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember anything except that the hum had become unbearable. And when it ended, I wasn't on the street anymore. I was somewhere else, cold, metallic, and quiet in a way that made my skin crawl. Shapes moved above me, impossible angles, lights that didn't belong to this world. And that's when I realized I wasn't being hunted anymore. I had been taken. And whatever had taken me, it was watching me closely, analyzing, waiting, The metallic walls around me seemed to pulse with their own light, soft but penetrating, like the air itself was alive. My heart was still hammering, sweat running down my back despite the cold that seemed to come from nowhere. I tried to move, but my limbs felt sluggish, unresponsive, as if gravity itself had changed. Shapes above me were hard to define, elongated, smooth, and almost liquid in their movement. There was no sound except for the hum, now a constant vibration beneath my skin, almost communicative, like it was trying to convey something without words. I tried to speak, my voice trembling, but nothing came out. Panic surged again. I tried to pull myself upright, leaning against the smooth wall, and that's when I noticed the panels. Strange symbols, flowing patterns that reminded me of circuitry but alive, shifting subtly, almost sentient. My rational brain screamed that I needed to observe, to understand, but fear froze me in place. Then a light brighter than any sun I'd ever seen focused on me. I shielded my eyes, blinking rapidly. Shapes emerged from the glow, tall, lean, without faces as we know them. Eyes, if you could call them that, were like polished obsidian, reflecting me back in a way that made me feel naked, exposed in my very thoughts. One, or perhaps a group moving as one, approached. The sensation of being studied became unbearable. Images flashed in my mind, memories not mine, visions of places I had never seen, equations and patterns I couldn't comprehend. I staggered backward, clutching my head. I didn't know if it was pain or understanding flooding in, but it was overwhelming. Then one of them extended a limb, impossibly jointed, toward me. I flinched, expecting pain, probing, something hostile. But instead, it hovered over my chest, and I felt it, an intrusion, yes, but not violent. Probing my mind, reading, scanning, understanding. I realized then that they didn't speak like we do. They communicated in waves of thought, subtle shifts in perception, almost telepathic. I tried to focus, tried to send something back, but my mind was tangled in their presence. A web I couldn't untangle. Hours, or maybe seconds, I couldn't tell, passed like that. And then they withdrew, leaving me trembling, knees weak, my own thoughts echoing loudly in the silence that followed. I thought it was over. I thought I could breathe again. But the hum returned, now accompanied by movement. Panels slid open, revealing a corridor, wide and impossibly long, stretching into darkness punctuated by their lights. Something inside me, a mix of terror and a twisted curiosity, compelled me to move forward. Every step was calculated, my senses heightened, every sound amplified. The corridor ended at a chamber, circular, walls shimmering with the same living patterns. In the center, a platform floated, translucent, shimmering like water frozen mid-motion. And on that platform I saw others, human others, or at least humans who looked like humans but with that same vacant, observed look I had seen in myself moments before. They didn't move, didn't respond when I called out. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. I was drawn forward by a force I didn't understand. The platform lifted slowly, carrying the others and me, upward into a larger room, walls now curved, stretching impossibly high. And then I saw it. A massive, disc-shaped craft, its interior extending far beyond what the outside had suggested, filled with chambers, corridors, technology that defied physics as I knew it. Lights and forms moved around, some observing, some operating, but all silent, all purposeful. And I understood, in a way that made me shiver, that this wasn't random. I wasn't kidnapped for sport. I was selected. Why, I didn't know. The creatures, or entities, hovered around me again, touching my mind, forcing visions of stars, planets, systems far beyond my understanding. They showed me glimpses of their journeys, their observations of Earth for centuries, not for conquest but study. And in a horrifying twist, I realized the truth. My mind, my very body, had become a repository, a data point. I felt my memories being copied, cataloged, analyzed. I was both here and elsewhere, observer and observed. Panic surged. I wanted to fight, to resist, but their presence pressed against me, relentless, precise. I tried to scream, but only my heartbeat filled the silence. Then, abruptly, the projection ended, and I was alone again on the platform, looking at the others who remained in suspended animation. A panel descended, a surface smooth as glass, and a single word formed in my mind: integration. I didn't understand, couldn't, and before I could react, the platform rose again, faster this time, and I felt my stomach lurch. The world outside the chamber stretched into nothingness, stars bending around us like a river of light. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the motion stopped. We were above Earth, or something that looked like it, shimmering with familiar oceans and landmasses, yet altered, shifted in ways that made me question reality. The platform descended, and the hum faded into a low, resonant vibration. And that's when I realized this wasn't just an abduction. It was an experiment in perception, in consciousness. And they weren't done with me yet. The air in that chamber was heavier now, dense like it had substance, as if each breath carried weight. I was shaking, my hands clammy, trying to grasp some sense of control in a place that defied every law of nature I had ever known. The platform slid forward on an invisible track, carrying me deeper into the ship. Ahead of me, a structure loomed, columns of shifting light, pulsing in rhythm with the hum. I could feel it in my teeth, my bones. The others on the platform, if they were even alive, remained still, eyes half open but unfocused, like mannequins caught mid-breath. I whispered to one of them, a young man maybe in his 20s, but there was no response, just that same blank stare. I gripped his shoulder. His skin was warm, but soft like wax. Panic flared inside me. I was the only one awake, or at least the only one aware. The entities appeared again, moving without sound, shadows inside light. This time they didn't come close. They watched from a distance, their obsidian eyes reflecting me 1,000 times over. The hum rose, and suddenly the columns of light cracked open, revealing what looked like a massive sphere of liquid glass, swirling slowly in midair. Symbols, those same shifting patterns, spiraled across it, forming constellations, then breaking apart. It was beautiful and horrifying all at once. And in my head, a word formed again, not spoken but felt: exchange. I didn't know what it meant, but my gut told me it wasn't good. My instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to fight. But how do you fight something you can't touch? The platform stopped in front of the sphere. A thin beam of light shot from it, wrapping around the young man next to me. His body lifted limp into the air. The beam pulled him inside the sphere like water swallowing a stone. No sound, no scream, just gone. My heart pounded. "Stop!" I shouted, the sound cracking in my throat. "Stop, please!" The entities didn't move. Another beam reached for the woman on my left. She, too, rose into the air, weightless, her hair drifting like smoke. She vanished into the sphere. My legs moved before I could think. I jumped off the platform, landing hard on the metallic floor, pain shooting up my knees. The entities flickered, almost surprised. The hum spiked, but nothing held me down. I ran, sprinting into the nearest corridor, my footsteps echoing off the walls. The ship shifted around me, the walls moving like liquid, trying to funnel me back. Panels sealed behind me. The corridor narrowed, then widened again into a smaller chamber filled with strange, translucent pods lining the walls like eggs. Inside them were more people, their faces pale, their eyes closed. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. I pressed my hand to one of the pods. The surface was cold, but soft like skin. Beneath it, a heartbeat. They were alive. All of them. The horror hit me full force. This wasn't a one-time abduction. This was a collection, a harvest. a library of minds. My breath came in sharp gasps. I stumbled backward, searching for an exit. There, a small opening at the far end of the chamber, barely visible behind a row of pods. I ducked through, finding myself in a narrow maintenance tunnel, dimly lit, the hum quieter here. My heartbeat roared in my ears. I crawled forward, scraping my palms on the strange metal, until I reached a hatch. It was sealed, but a panel next to it glowed faintly with those shifting symbols. Without thinking, I pressed my hand to it. The symbols pulsed, then reformed beneath my skin. Pain shot up my arm like electricity. The hatch slid open with a hiss. I tumbled through, landing in a dark room filled with what looked like equipment. Strange tools, floating panels of light, objects I couldn't identify. This was the first space on the ship that felt unguarded, unobserved. Or so I thought. The hum faded to a low, almost inaudible thrum, replaced by a new sound. A whisper, like someone calling my name but from inside my head. Jacob. I froze. Jacob? It was soft, almost human, but not. My hands shook. Who are you? I whispered. The whisper didn't answer with words but with images. Earth, my town, my street, my apartment, all flashing behind my eyes. And then a door opened on the far side of the room, and light spilled in. One of the entities entered, but it was different. Smaller, slower, its form flickering like it was unstable. It didn't approach. Instead, it raised one limb and pressed it to its chest. And in my head, the word came again. Help! I stared at it, stunned. Help me, I whispered. Or you. The entity flickered harder, the hum rising. Images poured into my mind of rebellion, of dissonance among them, of something broken in their system. It wasn't supposed to wake me. It wasn't supposed to show me this. But it had. I realized then that this one was different, and it wanted something from me. Or maybe it wanted to give me something. My mind raced. Could this be my chance to escape? Or was I just falling deeper into another layer of their experiment? The entity extended its limb again, beckoning me. And for reasons I couldn't explain, I stepped forward. I followed the flickering entity down the narrow corridor, my every instinct screaming at me to run. Yet something inside me, a strange trust one couldn't explain, pushed me forward. The walls rippled as we moved, like water frozen mid-flow, and the hum thrummed in a rhythm that somehow matched my heartbeat. At the end of the corridor, we reached a chamber unlike anything I had seen before. The ceiling arched impossibly high, the walls alive with light, projecting images of worlds I could barely comprehend. Planets spinning in impossible orbits, civilizations evolving and vanishing in seconds, stars exploding and reforming. In the center of the room, a massive sphere floated, larger than the one I had seen before, filled with swirling energy that seemed to pulse with intelligence. The entity stopped and extended its limb toward me. I felt a surge of knowledge flood my mind. Not memories, not thoughts, but understanding. The humans on the platforms, the pods, they weren't captives in the traditional sense. They were conduits, vessels for information, minds connected to this network of consciousness. The entity's presence whispered to me that I had a choice. Remain a passive observer, a prisoner, or integrate, become part of their collective, and survive in a way that transcended normal human life. Fear warred with a strange fascination. I realized that if I refused, I would likely be returned or worse, absorbed by the system, my identity erased. But if I accepted, I could retain fragments of myself while experiencing realities beyond imagination. My chest burned as the decision pressed on me. The flickering entity pulsed again, faster this time, and I understood it was urging me to choose quickly. I took a deep breath, and in a split second, I stepped toward the sphere. Light enveloped me, my body lifted, weightless, and my mind expanded in a way I could barely describe. I saw everything, the ship, the entities, the humans, the networks of consciousness, and even Earth small and fragile below. And then, something shifted. The system hesitated. The entity flickered violently, like static across a screen. Resistance from within the collective, or from me. I realized that my fear, my insistence on holding onto my identity, created a flaw in their control. For the first time, I could act freely. I focused, a single thought forming: escape. The sphere convulsed around me, light slicing through dimensions. I felt my consciousness pulled in multiple directions, memories mixing with visions of alien worlds. Yet somehow, I clung to myself. And then the vessel of the ship reacted. Panels tore open, corridors stretching, and I was expelled through a shaft of blinding light, tumbling down as if falling through the sky. Pain shot through me as I slammed into the ground. For a moment, I thought I was dead. But then I opened my eyes. Stars, trees, the familiar chill of night air. I was back on the ridge near my town, exactly where I had been before it all began. My flashlight lay shattered nearby, camera missing, no trace of the ship, the pods, or the entities. My chest heaved, lungs burning, heart hammering. I thought I was alone. But then I heard it. A faint hum, distant but unmistakable, like a whisper at the edge of hearing. I froze, scanning the sky. No lights, no shapes, just stars, normal and silent. I stumbled toward my car, hands shaking, mind racing. Every instinct told me to run, to hide, to never speak of this. But I knew, deep down, that something had changed. I had been marked, touched, altered in ways I could not yet comprehend. Back in my apartment, I avoided sleep, afraid of what I might dream, afraid of the whisper that still lingered in my thoughts. And in the days that followed, I noticed subtle changes, memories of events I had never lived, knowledge I could not explain. The universe felt different, connected, and I realized that the entities hadn't just taken me. They had shown me a path, a glimpse of a larger reality, one I couldn't unsee. I didn't know if I would ever see them again. Maybe the ship would return, maybe not. But the thought that chilled me most wasn't whether I would survive another encounter. It was the quiet certainty that the hum would never leave me, that I would never truly be alone again. And in that realization, I understood something terrifying and exhilarating at once. The hunt had ended, but the chase had only just begun.